the mage stood on the top of a 10-story tower made out of elven bones, standing near the paladin of the undead, whose will chained all of the creatures there to his dedications. Then the dawn slowly blossomed, and the paladin's face, already turned towards the light, smiled at the dawn, at the coming day. And in that moment, the glimmer of a second halo, a light, a golden halo, glimmered around the man's head, a halo of good that still clung from his former dedications. The Creator had not abandoned his chosen man. Some grace was still judged divinely to be there. That changed everything. And that is only a part of all of the stories that I tell in Dark Fun. Hi, I'm Diana Stein. I have a D&D campaign that has run most every Sunday from 1978. And this is the first dungeon I have ever put together. I called it Bloodskull Tower. I still have the old notes from it. And it's a doozy. It is really ancient. Oh my God, I could not draw then. And honestly, I'll see if I can scan these and put them up. But old style. Everything was written down on cards so that room number 1 was over here and room number 2 was over there. And I could pull the cards out and tell people what was going on and what was happening. This is old stuff. This is the way it maps, and this is the way we used to do it. Everything's going to fall out now. Bloodskull Tower. I found D&D in 1978. 77, and then I got the game for Christmas. Got the actual books, which I have over there, for Christmas, and I made up a dungeon and began to run it. And this was the first great big encounter set, as opposed to merely trying, oh, well, there's some orcs, oh, look, there's some goblins. This was world building. This was amazing, and it carried on for years. People tried it, got killed, didn't like it, ran away, started again, and it was going on for years in my game. And then they finally came and met the paladin who was the leader of all of it. His name was Robnik, over here. My friend April Lee painted me a painting back in 89. April Lee, who has done magic cards. And it's a nice painting, but again, early in our careers. He's gorgeous. And they finally met up with him and learned his story. And his story was that he was originally a paladin of the Creator. And he would go out amongst the people, and he had a very large town, and he would make certain that the poor were fed, and that people had clothes, and that the houses were nice. And then one man, all it takes is one man, went and said, yes, but what will you do for me tomorrow? Will you bring bread for me the next day? Will there still be fish available the next day? You're not doing anything to help me. And rather than the other part of the teach a man to fish, the paladin went home and thought, I'm failing at people. And in that moment, the great Lord of the Undead, speaking through the undead of the temple he stayed at the Creatorian spaces, through the graveyards, said, no, but I can help. You can make a difference. I can give you power that will change all of this. And of course, this was over a long period of time when the players began to slowly learn who this man was and what the problem was with him. Because if you kill a paladin of the undead, and he's alive at the start, which Robnik was, if you kill him, now he's undead, so now he is still stronger. And if you kill that incarnation of the undead, then who is to say there is not another incarnation of the undead? Instead, they figured out that he was redeemable. God had not turned his back. And we had many long adventures with them, chasing him and talking to his people and trying to get him to change. And in the end, they did. It was good, and he went on trial in the elven kingdom, and the elders, the clan father of the elven kingdoms, came together and said, we have trouble with this man, and we're going to tell absolutely everything. And as all of the stories began to come out, this person this person that, my friends, my fathers, my mothers, all of the people who were killed, all of the elves, whose very bones were carved down and made into this total tower of awfulness. And they started to tell all of their tales. And finally, one of the clan fathers stood up and said, yes, this is all we should say. We know he is bad. We know he is guilty of all of these crimes, but we linger, and will linger for years if we merely keep telling them. Let us be done with this. Let us do what we must, and let us be just in our decision. And the people all said, yes, we will do this. And then quietly, behind everything, the first elven king went to the clan fathers, and he himself went to the paladin, who was surrendered and calm, ready to face his death and to face his lord, or both lords. And the elf said, come here, first we will scrub at your body, we will cleanse. And they cleaned him utterly, scrubbing, shaving, absolutely everything, so that he was very bare. And then they said, and now we will take your name from you. And they made some ceremony that seemed unharming, but they took his name from him, and they left him in a small dark hollow in the elven woods. And as he left, the paladin that was no longer with either of his lights, and only the sense of his own soul, walked forward and said, where am I to go? What am I to do? How should I die? And the elven king, the eldest, said, hello, stranger. Hello, unnamed babe. We shall give you a name, and we will watch, and we will let you redeem your own deeds in your own time. And that was fabulous. They told him his name was now Raban. It's easy to at least half turn your head when it says your name used to be Robnik, and somebody goes, Ra, and you already know how to turn and react to a name that might be half familiar. And he became Raban, and he changed his ways. And he went on to be a bit of a mountain man. He went into the wilderness and found that, now we're into the long story parts. Dark Fawn is long and involved. There's a land, a big continent, and there used to be people there. Big continent. Okay, so everybody lives here on the southern end. This is where the town is. This is where everything goes on. And then all of these lands were unknown. I know, more stories. And this land down here, I don't know if you can see it. There's a land way down here. No, that's the land. And that land had people who had died long ago. A very little pink flowers problem. I'll try to tell you about that later too. And he went there and began resting the undead that had clung there for millennia. And he did not have any people to interact with. He picked up a nice dog, named him Tower. Still has the dog. And thus began his part in cleansing things. So now the campaign has a paladin who was good, fell from grace, was redeemed, surrendered himself to judgment, accepted the judgment, and is now on a path of his own redemption. He understands that there is not redemption, judgment in the God's point of view. There is redemption in his point of view first. He will be judged. He understands that, but he will try and do the best he can as he can. And the story there was wonderful. So we still have the character, the NPC, still rolling around. And if they need a paladin of greater power who understands the undead ways, there he is. Because he hasn't given up either of his lords. He just serves them differently. Because you can have a temple of the undead in a good temple. You can have a temple of the undead in a good city. It's just that you serve the undead by fixing their problems, allowing them to rest, and allowing them to pass. And a lot of that was a lot of fun. So, Bloodskull Tower. Ancient. I've used it a number of times in the course of the game. First in the early days, because a dungeon was a dungeon, and there was a lot of fun in this. It was a killer. I made it to be a killer because I was a young GM, and I really didn't have a lot of understanding of all that sort of thing. You're a GM, you're supposed to kill the players, you're supposed to kill the characters. Well, once we figured out that that wasn't quite the way, they destroyed the tower. They destroyed the tower again because something rebuilt it. I have this issue. It's easy when you got a great idea the idea is, oh, I'll use that again. Why? Because I can. Oh yeah, somebody built this and somebody built that, and this started up again. And of course, there's items and other things that linger in the game from these things. But most of the time, they're attached to the older characters, to people who have been in the game a long time. And there are a couple of them. But a lot of those people and characters are retired now. So, okay. But everybody knows it. It's part of the history. And he's a most excellent resource to call on because he's trying to do good. He understands that he doesn't always do good, and he still has his 2 halos. So that's one of the stories of Dark Fawn. I'm trying to do a few stories. People were asking, Diana, we always love hearing you talk about your game. It's a long game. I'm pretty sure it is the longest continually running D&D game in the world. I'd like to be friends with anybody who's got a game as long as mine. 1978 is when I started. But I have a lot of stories to tell, and I look forward to telling them, and I know that perfect is the enemy of done. So my hope is to have a few stories. I might ramble a bit. Hopefully it'll be interesting. And there'll be lots to talk about as we go along. So thanks for trying. We'll see you later. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye.